There is an old story about a king who once promised a reward to the artist who could paint the truest picture of peace. Many painters brought their work before him. Some painted calm lakes where the water was as smooth as glass. Others painted sunsets behind gentle mountains, or quiet meadows where sheep grazed without disturbance. But the painting that won shocked everyone. It was a picture of a mighty waterfall crashing down the side of a mountain with thunderous power. The water raged and roared, filling the canvas with chaos. And yet right there in the middle of that raging waterfall, tucked into a crack in the rock, was a small bush. And inside that bush, a little bird had built her nest. There she sat, calm and unmoved, resting on her eggs in the very heart of the storm. That is peace. Not the absence of trial, not the absence of noise, not the absence of storms. Real peace is the ability to remain calm, steady, and anchored even when the world around you is shaking. Too often we mistake peace for something external, something we can only find when everything is calm outside. We tell ourselves, "I will have peace when I have more money. I will have peace when I finally get that job. I will have peace when the sickness leaves, when people stop hurting me, when the world stops changing." But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, chaos never really goes away. If it's not one storm, it's another. If it's not this problem, it's the next. Peace is not what happens when the storm ends. Peace is what you choose when the storm refuses to stop. Look closely at life, and you will realize that chaos is the default. Plans break, people disappoint, bills pile up, the news screams with uncertainty. Just when you think you are finally in control, life proves that you are not. But here's the interesting thing. Two people can go through the exact same storm and yet have completely different outcomes. One person collapses under the weight of it, another becomes stronger. One is destroyed, the other is refined. What makes the difference? It is not the size of the storm. It is not the weight of the problem. It is the posture of the heart. Peace is not determined by what is happening outside of you. Peace is determined by what is happening inside of you. Think of the ocean. On the surface, the waves rise high, storms rage, ships are tossed about violently. But if you dive deep enough beneath the surface, the waters are calm, steady, and untouched. That is the picture of a peaceful life. Chaos may rage on the surface of your circumstances, but you can choose to live from the depth where the storms cannot reach. I once sat at an airport during a terrible storm. Flights were canceled one after another. The loudspeaker announced delay after delay, and immediately you could feel the atmosphere change. People rushed to the counters demanding explanations. Some shouted at the attendants. Children cried while parents grew restless. Chaos filled the building. But in the corner, there was one traveler quietly reading a book, completely unbothered. Same storm, same delay, same uncertainty. Yet while everyone else lost themselves, this traveler remained calm. And I realized something that day. Peace is never about the situation. It is always about the response. The storm is beyond your control, but your attitude, your reaction, your focus, that is within your control. I have seen the same thing in families. A sudden sickness, an unexpected loss of a job, a shocking betrayal. Life shakes them all at once. Emotions explode. Some scream, some weep, some blame each other because fear takes over the home. Yet in the middle of it all, there is usually one person who refuses to let fear control them. They comfort the worried children. They think clearly about the next step. They remain calm, not because the problem is small, but because they have chosen not to let the chaos outside become chaos inside. And soon the rest of the family leans on them. Their peace becomes the anchor that steadies everyone else. That is the power of peace. It does not only protect you, it spreads to those around you. I've also seen it in workplaces. Deadlines approach, phones are ringing nonstop, the boss is angry, colleagues are panicking, and one mistake could cost the company dearly. Everyone is overwhelmed, but there is always that one person who refuses to lose their head. They take a breath, focus, and work with clarity while everyone else rushes blindly. They deliver solutions, not because they are smarter than everyone else, but because they are calmer. While panic multiplies mistakes, peace creates progress. And soon, even the boss begins to look to them for stability. That is what peace does. It positions you to rise in the middle of chaos. But here's the problem. Most of us chase peace in the wrong place. We think if only we can control everything, then we will finally be at peace. If I can control my environment, if I can control people, if I can control the future, then my heart will rest. But that is an illusion. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people. You cannot control the economy. You cannot even control tomorrow. The only thing you can truly control is yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, your focus. That is why some people live in chaos, even when life is calm, because their inner world is broken. And others live in peace even when the world is shaking, because their inner world is strong. Peace is not found in control. Peace is found in surrender. It is the surrender to what you cannot change, and the discipline to master what you can. It is a balance of acceptance and responsibility. Acceptance of what lies beyond your reach, and responsibility for what lies within your grasp. This is why every person needs an inner sanctuary, a place within that the noise of the world cannot enter. For some, it is prayer. For others, meditation. For some, it is journaling or walking in nature, or simply carving out moments of silence in the day. Whatever form it takes, you must create a habit of returning to yourself, of reconnecting with what grounds you, of sitting quietly in the deeper waters of your own soul. Because you cannot pour peace into others if your own cup is empty. You cannot be the calm in the storm if you yourself are drowning in the noise. You cannot lead anyone else if you cannot first lead yourself. And here is the truth many miss. Peace is power. People think power comes from dominance, from control, from being the loudest voice in the room. But power comes from steadiness, from stability, from the ability to remain anchored when others drift. The person who has peace has influence, because while others lose their direction, they remain the guiding light. Chaos will always come knocking. Sometimes it will arrive as a whisper, sometimes as a scream, sometimes as a storm that shakes everything you thought was certain. But the question will always remain the same. Will you open the door and let it inside, or will you guard your heart and keep your inner sanctuary untouched? Peace is not a luxury for the few. It is a necessity for anyone who wants to live fully. Peace is not weakness. It is strength, and it is available to anyone who chooses it. Because in the end, the storm outside is not the greatest danger. The storm within is. If you can quiet the storm inside, the one outside will never sink you. And that is how you find peace in the middle of chaos. Life has a way of reminding us that chaos is not an interruption to our plans. It is part of the plan. We dream of smooth roads and clear skies, but the truth is that storms are woven into the fabric of our journey. Think about it. From the moment we are born, life has always tested us with uncertainty. A baby cries not because the world is calm, but because it enters a world of shock, noise, and discomfort. Growing up, we face changes we did not ask for, challenges we did not predict, and pressures we did not prepare for. Chaos is not an enemy. It is a teacher. And yet, most of us resist it, hoping we can go through life without disruptions. But that is like wishing for the ocean without waves or for the sky without clouds. Chaos is inevitable. The real question is, what will it do to you? Some people collapse under the weight of it. They fall apart when plans are broken, when people betray them, when money runs dry. Their entire sense of identity is tied to external stability. So the moment stability is threatened, they lose themselves. Have you ever seen a person who looked strong until pressure revealed who they really were? They could smile when the sun was shining, but as soon as the rain came, their strength evaporated. Chaos has a way of exposing what is within us. It shows whether our foundation is sand or stone. But there are others who face the same storms and emerge stronger. They are not superhuman. They do not have a secret shield against life. What they have is perspective. They understand that peace is not found in waiting for life to calm down, but in learning how to be calm within. They see chaos not as the end, but as the arena where their strength is built. And that is the difference between those who break and those who grow. One sees chaos as destruction, the other sees it as instruction. Consider the storms of money. A man who builds his peace on his bank account will live in constant anxiety because money has wings. It can fly away overnight. You work for years, and in a moment a financial crisis sweeps through the world, and suddenly what you thought was certain becomes fragile. The man who ties his peace to wealth will always be restless, but the one who ties his peace to wisdom, discipline, and faith remains calm, because even if the numbers in the account change, the peace inside does not. Think of relationships. Love can be beautiful, but it can also bring heartbreak. Two people promise forever, but sometimes forever becomes a few short years. Betrayal can cut deeper than a knife, and many lose their peace when love breaks. They let bitterness consume them, and their nights are filled with sleepless anger. But there are others who face the same heartbreak and choose a different response. They cry, yes, because peace is not denial, but they refuse to let the betrayal rob them of their future. They rise, heal, and find peace not in the perfection of people, but in the strength of their own heart. They discover that while they cannot control who stays, they can control whether bitterness stays. Look at the world itself. Wars break out. Economies rise and fall. Natural disasters hit without warning. A single announcement on the news can shake entire nations. And in those moments, you can see two types of people. One group panics, spreads fear, and lives in constant dread of tomorrow. The other group steadies themselves, becomes a source of hope, and finds ways to adapt. The difference is not the storm, it is the spirit. The storm is the same, but the response is different. I remember watching the news during a global crisis, when businesses shut down, schools closed, and fear spread faster than the virus itself. People rushed into panic buying, emptying shelves, fighting over supplies. But then I noticed some people who remained calm. They cared for their neighbors. They shared what they had. They prayed, encouraged, and refused to let fear dictate their choices. They understood something simple but profound. Panic does not solve problems. It multiplies them. But peace makes you creative, patient, and wise in the middle of trouble. This is why I say chaos is not the enemy. The real enemy is how you respond to it. If you let it enter your heart, it will destroy you from within. But if you guard your heart, you will discover strength that surprises even you. The difference between a house that falls and a house that stands is not whether the storm comes. The storm comes to both. The difference is the foundation. And this is where peace becomes not just a feeling, but a discipline. It is not enough to wish for peace. You must train yourself to live from it. Just as muscles grow under resistance, peace grows when it is tested by pressure. You will never know how deep your calm can go until chaos knocks at your door. And when it does, you will have a choice. Either let the storm outside create a storm inside, or let the calm inside outlast the storm outside. So many people miss this truth because they are obsessed with control. They spend all their energy trying to control people, events, outcomes. And the more they try, the more restless they become. Control is an illusion. You cannot control whether it rains tomorrow, but you can control whether you carry an umbrella. You cannot control if people speak against you, but you can control whether their words sink into your spirit. You cannot control if life throws you a curveball, but you can control how you swing at it. The moment you stop fighting to control the uncontrollable and start mastering the controllable, peace begins to grow. And once peace begins to grow in you, you will notice something remarkable. The chaos outside loses its grip. The same news that once sent you into panic will no longer shake you. The same financial storm that once kept you awake at night will no longer rob you of sleep. The same betrayal that once shattered your spirit will no longer define you. Because you have learned the secret that most never discover. Peace is not the absence of chaos. It is the mastery of self in the midst of it. And let me remind you of this. Chaos will always return. Today, it may be in your finances. Tomorrow, it may be in your health. The next day, it may be in your relationships. You cannot stop life from shifting, but you can stop chaos from ruling you. You can learn to build your life on something deeper, something stronger, something unshakable. And when you do, you will not only survive chaos, you will thrive in it. When life feels like it is spiraling out of control, many of us instinctively tighten our grip. We fight harder to manage the unmanageable. We believe that if we can just arrange every detail perfectly, silence every voice of opposition, and shut down every possible source of disturbance, then maybe we will find peace. But that is the greatest illusion of them all. You see, peace does not come from mastering the storm. It comes from mastering yourself within the storm. The world outside may be raging, but the world inside you does not have to collapse with it. Think about the ocean for a moment. On the surface, waves crash, winds blow, and storms roll in with relentless force. Yet if you dive deep enough beneath the waves, there is stillness. The storm rages above, but the deep sea remains calm. Life works the same way. If you only live on the surface of circumstances, you will always be tossed around by waves you cannot control. But if you learn to go deeper within yourself to find that unshakable center, then even when everything above feels chaotic, you will carry peace that cannot be stolen. Chaos reveals how shallow or deep our inner life truly is. Let me give you a scenario. Imagine two people standing in a traffic jam. Both have been stuck for hours, both are running late, and both have no control over the gridlock. One person bangs the steering wheel, curses at other drivers, and lets rage consume them. The other person, though equally delayed, decides to roll down the window, play some calming music, and maybe even take the chance to reflect or breathe. Same chaos, but two different responses. What's the difference? One lives on the surface of reaction, the other chose to dive deep and protect their inner calm. The truth is, we often mistake control for peace. We think, when my finances are perfect, I'll feel calm. When my relationships are smooth, I'll feel at rest. When my health is strong, then I'll finally breathe easy. But peace is not a reward waiting at the finish line of a perfect life. Peace is a discipline, a choice, and a practice you carry no matter what state your life is in. It is not the absence of problems, but the presence of inner strength. I want you to picture another scene. A young woman is at the hospital waiting for the results of a test that could change her future. She has every reason to panic, but instead of pacing up and down in fear, she sits quietly with a notebook in her hand, writing down affirmations and prayers, reminding herself of everything she has overcome before. Around her, others are crying, fidgeting, or visibly anxious. Yet she carries herself like a still flame in the middle of a windstorm. What she has mastered is not the hospital environment. She has mastered her inner environment. That is where peace lives. And sometimes chaos is not loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle, like the pressure at work, the constant comparison on social media, the quiet battles in your own mind. You may not be facing a war on the outside, but you are fighting a storm within. Doubts, fears, regrets, endless what-ifs. If you are not careful, those inner storms will drain you more than any external one. That is why cultivating peace within is not optional. It is survival. If you cannot quiet your inner dialogue, the world will never feel quiet enough. Now, let's stretch this lesson even further. Imagine a firefighter rushing into a burning building. The environment is pure chaos. Flames everywhere, smoke choking the air, alarms blaring. Yet the firefighter cannot afford to panic. Panic would kill them. Instead, they train themselves to breathe slowly, think clearly, and stay calm under pressure. Their survival, and the survival of those they rescue, depends not on whether the fire is big or small, but on whether their mind is steady in the middle of it. Life works the same way. The size of the storm does not decide your fate. Your steadiness within it does. Peace is like oxygen to your spirit. Without it, chaos will suffocate you. With it, chaos may still surround you, but you can walk through it with your head high, your steps firm, and your soul intact. And here is the secret. Peace is not given. It is chosen. Every single day you are presented with moments where you must choose between reacting with anger, fear, and panic, or responding with calm, wisdom, and perspective. The choice you make repeatedly shapes the peace you carry. There will be times when everything in you screams to fight fire with fire. Someone offends you and you feel the urge to snap back. Someone wrongs you and revenge feels justified. Life disappoints you, and despair seems like the natural response. But in those moments, you must remind yourself, peace is power. Losing your calm does not punish others. It weakens you. But guarding your peace makes you stronger than the storm. And here's something else most people overlook. Peace is not passive, it is active. It is not about doing nothing, folding your arms and pretending everything is okay. It is about intentionally centering yourself, intentionally choosing your perspective, and intentionally anchoring yourself in truths that are bigger than the chaos. It is like being a pilot flying through turbulence. The passengers may scream, but the pilot must keep their eyes on the horizon, their hands steady on the controls. That calm is not laziness. It is mastery. The same applies to your life. When the winds of chaos blow, will you be the screaming passenger or the steady pilot? Think for a moment about the chaos of financial storms. Money is one of the biggest triggers of stress in our world today. Bills stack higher than income, unexpected emergencies show up at the worst times, debts weigh heavy on the mind. I know some of you have sat at the edge of your bed at night, staring at your ceiling, wondering how you'll make it through another month. The noise of worry can feel louder than any external storm. It whispers, "You're failing, you're sinking, you're not enough." And if you listen to that voice too long, it will rob you of rest. But peace does not mean having a fat bank account. Peace means knowing that even if you have little in your pocket, you are not empty in your soul. Peace means trusting that provision has a way of finding those who refuse to panic, those who keep their heads clear enough to see opportunities where others only see walls. When you panic about money, you miss solutions. But when you steady yourself, ideas flow, creativity opens, and resilience grows. Peace, even in financial chaos, keeps you resourceful. Now let's talk about relationships. Sometimes the greatest chaos does not come from the outside world, but from the people closest to us. Misunderstandings, betrayal, heartbreak, family conflicts, they cut deeper than any storm of nature. Think of a couple going through constant arguments, voices raised, doors slammed, silence stretched so far it feels like a canyon between them. That is chaos of the heart. Or imagine a family gathering where everyone walks on eggshells because unspoken tensions linger in the air. Many people lose their peace here because they give others full control over their inner world. But here is the truth. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control what you allow inside you. Peace does not mean ignoring hurt. It means refusing to let hurt own your spirit. It means walking into a heated room and choosing to be the calmest presence there. It means refusing to throw back anger when anger is thrown at you, because you understand that peace is not weakness. It is wisdom clothed in patience. And then there is workplace chaos. The deadlines that come faster than the hours in a day. The boss who never seems satisfied. The colleague who thrives on drama. The constant performance pressure. The fear of losing your job. The endless to-do lists. I've spoken to people who told me their workplace feels like a battlefield. They leave home calm but walk through those office doors and immediately feel the tension pressing down on them. How do you keep your peace in an environment like that? By remembering that your worth is not defined by any title, paycheck, or performance review. You can choose to work diligently without letting the stress poison your inner calm. You can walk through chaos and yet refuse to carry it home with you. The key is boundaries, deciding that you will not hand over your inner sanctuary to the noise of an office, a boss, or a deadline. You are bigger than your workplace storm, and your peace is the evidence of that truth. And what about global chaos? Turn on the news for 10 minutes, and it feels like the world is unraveling. Wars, pandemics, inflation, disasters, uncertainty everywhere. People wake up scrolling headlines, and before they've even brushed their teeth, they've already absorbed fear. It is easy to carry the weight of the world until it feels like your own shoulders are breaking. But here's a perspective. You are not built to carry the whole world. You are built to carry yourself well, and in doing so, you add your light to the world's darkness. Peace here does not mean denying reality. It means refusing to drown in it. Yes, there is chaos out there, but peace reminds you that you can still build love in your home, kindness in your community, excellence in your work, joy in your friendships. When you hold your peace, you push back against the noise. The world may be breaking, but you do not have to break with it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a hurricane spinning wildly, destroying everything in its path. But right at the center of that hurricane, there is something called the eye of the storm. In the eye, the winds are calm. The skies may even look clear. That is what peace is. It is finding the eye of your own storm, choosing to live there even as the winds howl around you. And the truth is, the storms will not stop coming. Financial struggles may come again. Relationships may test you again. Work may overwhelm you again. The world will keep shaking. But you, yes, you, can remain in the eye. Because peace is not about escaping the storm, it is about living differently inside it. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for perfect conditions before they allow themselves peace. They say, "When my debts are cleared, I'll breathe. When my marriage is healed, I'll rest. When my career is secure, I'll relax." But what if that day never comes? Will you waste your entire life waiting for external silence when you had the power to create inner silence all along? Do not postpone your peace. Do not delay your calm until circumstances agree. You can carry peace right now, right here, even with unpaid bills, even with unanswered questions, even with unresolved conflicts. And sometimes, the moment you decide to be still within, that decision becomes the very thing that helps resolve the chaos outside. So the question is not whether chaos will come. It will. The real question is, what will you carry within it? Will you carry panic, or will you carry peace? Will you be swept away by every storm, or will you become the one who stands firm, like a lighthouse in the night, guiding others with your calm? Chaos is not only what happens outside you. The greatest storm is often the one that rages within. The mind starts racing, thoughts collide like cars in a pileup, and every possible what-if screams for attention. The emotions surge like waves, one moment pulling you toward fear, the next toward anger, the next toward despair. The spirit feels squeezed, as if it's gasping for oxygen in the middle of the noise. This is the battle most people never talk about. On the outside, they look calm, dressed well, even smiling. But inside, they are at war. Inside, there is no peace. And until you learn to master this battlefield, no amount of silence in your surroundings will save you. The mind is the first to betray peace. When chaos hits, the mind rushes into overdrive. It begins rehearsing every possible outcome, spinning endless scenarios, and often painting the worst-case picture as if it were inevitable. Have you noticed how fast your mind can run when you are worried? In minutes, you go from a small problem to imagining the collapse of everything you hold dear. That is the power of an untrained mind. It magnifies chaos until it drowns out reason. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. And the moment you realize this truth, you take the first step toward peace. You do not have to chase every anxious thought your mind throws at you. You can let them pass like clouds across the sky, refusing to build your home inside them. Then there are the emotions. Fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, these rise up like storms of their own. They are not enemies, they are signals. But when you let them drive the car of your life, they will crash you into panic. Think of fear like a fire alarm. It alerts you, but you don't sit and have a conversation with the alarm. You turn it off and then deal with the situation wisely. Peace comes when you acknowledge your emotions without letting them take over. You can say, "Yes, I feel fear, but I will not be paralyzed. Yes, I feel anger, but I will not lash out. Yes, I feel sadness, but I will not drown in it." That kind of self-dialogue is not denial, it is discipline. It is telling your emotions, you can ride in the car, but you are not touching the steering wheel. And then comes the spirit, the deepest part of you. This is where true peace lives, but it is also where the fiercest battle is fought. When chaos hits, the spirit asks questions like, am I strong enough? Am I loved enough? Am I safe enough? And if the spirit is weak, chaos will shake it until it collapses. But if the spirit is rooted in something deeper than circumstance, it becomes unshakable. This is why people who build their lives only on possessions, positions, or popularity often crumble in chaos, because storms strip those things away. But those who build their spirit on purpose, values, and faith discover a strength that chaos cannot touch. They may be pressed, but not crushed, shaken, but not broken, because their spirit is anchored to something eternal. Imagine a tree in the middle of a storm. Its branches whip in every direction, leaves scatter, smaller twigs snap off. On the surface, it looks like the tree may not survive, but what matters most is underground. If its roots are deep, it will stand. The storm may rage, but the roots hold it firm. That is the human spirit. If you have no roots, chaos will uproot you. But if your spirit has dug deep into values, into gratitude, into faith, into love, into discipline, then no matter how wild the winds get, you will not fall. Your peace comes from your roots, not your branches. And yet, many of us feed our branches more than our roots. We invest in appearances, in keeping up with others, in chasing achievements, while neglecting the deeper work of building the inner life. Then, when storms come, we panic because all we built was surface level. Peace is not found by polishing the leaves, it is found by strengthening the roots. It is the late-night reflections, the early morning prayers, the quiet journaling, the deep conversations with yourself, the practice of gratitude, the discipline of letting go, the intentional act of centering yourself daily. That is how you grow roots. And those roots become your unshakable peace. The inner battle is not one you win once and never face again. No, it is daily. Every morning when you wake up, you step into a battlefield. Your mind will try to rush ahead with worries. Your emotions will try to hijack your clarity. Your spirit will feel pulled by doubts, but peace is the weapon you carry into that war. It is like a shield. You may still hear the arrows flying, but they cannot pierce you when you hold it firm. I remember hearing a story of a soldier who was asked, "How do you remain calm when you know a bullet could find you at any moment?" His reply was simple. "I have learned to control the battle inside me. If I let fear take over my mind, I am already dead before the bullet comes. But if I master my inner world, then even in the chaos of war, I live free." That struck me deeply. Because most of us will never face a battlefield with guns and bullets, but we face wars in our minds every single day. And unless we learn to hold our peace, chaos wins without ever touching us. Peace is not silence. Peace is not pretending you're unaffected. Peace is not forcing a smile while breaking inside. No. Peace is the quiet confidence that says, yes, chaos is here, but it is not my master. It is the inner voice that says, yes, storms are raging, but I am anchored. It is the daily choice to refuse to be shaken by everything that shakes others. And once you master that choice, you become unstoppable, because nothing external has the power to defeat a person who has found peace within. Peace is not a mystery reserved for the lucky few. It is not a gift some are born with and others are denied. No, peace is a discipline, a practice, a series of choices made day after day until it becomes your second nature. Just like strength is built by lifting weights, peace is built by training your inner world. And the beauty of it is that anyone can build it. You don't need money to practice peace. You don't need a perfect family or perfect circumstances. What you need is willingness, patience, and daily commitment. The first principle of peace is focus. What you focus on expands. When chaos comes, your mind will want to obsess over the storm. It will replay the bad news over and over. It will magnify the mistakes. It will keep showing you everything that could go wrong. But focus is a choice. You can decide to shift your attention toward what is stable, what is good, what is still working. Think of a photographer adjusting the lens of a camera. If they focus on the background, the subject blurs. But when they adjust the lens correctly, the subject comes into sharp clarity while the background fades. Life works the same way. You can let chaos be your focus and lose sight of yourself, or you can focus on your inner calm until the chaos fades into the background. Peace begins with where you place your focus. The second principle is breathing. It sounds too simple, but it is powerful. In chaos, we forget how to breathe. Our breaths become shallow, rushed, panicked. Yet something shifts when you stop. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Breathing signals to your body that you are safe, that you are in control of yourself, that panic is not necessary. Some of the greatest leaders, athletes, and warriors train themselves to breathe correctly under pressure. Why? Because if they lose their breath, they lose their focus. And if they lose their focus, they lose the battle. Peace begins with something as simple as the breath you carry in your lungs. Try it. When chaos surrounds you, take 3 slow, deep breaths and feel the shift in your body. The storm outside may not change, but the storm inside begins to settle. The third principle is anchoring. When storms rise, you need something deeper than feelings to hold on to. Anchoring means reminding yourself of truths that cannot be shaken. It could be your faith, your values, your purpose, or even a single mantra that centers you. Some people anchor themselves in scripture, others in affirmations, others in the memory of everything they've survived before. The anchor is not about denying the waves, it is about giving yourself something immovable to hold on to while the waves crash. Without anchors, we drift wherever chaos pushes us. With anchors, we remain steady. Ask yourself, what anchors you? What truths do you return to when everything else feels uncertain? Find them, hold them, and peace will hold you. The fourth principle is gratitude. This may be the most underrated weapon of peace. Chaos tries to blind you to everything good in your life. It magnifies lack, amplifies loss, and whispers that nothing is working. But gratitude opens your eyes. Gratitude is the deliberate act of counting blessings, no matter how small, even in the middle of the storm. And when you count blessings, you shrink the power of chaos. I once heard someone say, "I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet." Gratitude shifts your perspective. It does not magically erase problems, but it reminds you that problems do not define your whole life. There is still something good, still something working, still something worth smiling about. And peace flows wherever gratitude lives. The fifth principle is perspective shifting. Chaos always tries to tell you one story. This is the end. This is too much. This is unbearable. But peace comes when you learn to tell yourself a different story. The question is not, why is this happening to me? But what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? What new strength will this chaos reveal in me? Change the lens, and you change the feeling. Some of the world's greatest breakthroughs were born out of chaos. Innovations born in war, resilience built in loss, compassion awakened in suffering. If you see chaos as a teacher instead of a destroyer, you will find peace even while it rages. But these principles only work if you practice them daily. You cannot wait until chaos arrives to learn peace. Just as a soldier trains before the battle, you must train your mind, emotions, and spirit before the storm. Practice focusing daily. Choose what deserves your attention and cut off what drains it. Practice breathing deeply when you feel stressed. Practice anchoring by writing down truths that ground you. Practice gratitude every morning or evening by listing what you are thankful for. Practice perspective shifting by asking, what good can come from this? The more you practice, the stronger your peace becomes, until one day you discover that chaos has lost its power over you. And here is the beauty. Peace is contagious. When you practice it, others around you feel it. Your children notice it. Your spouse notices it. Your friends notice it. You become a calming presence in a chaotic world. Instead of adding to the noise, you quiet it. Instead of spreading panic, you spread calm. Imagine being that person who walks into a heated room and the temperature drops. Not because you said anything, but because you carry peace so strongly that others feel it. That is not just influence. That is real power. So the principles of peace are not just for you. They are for everyone your life touches. They ripple outward like waves in water. A calm parent raises calmer children. A peaceful leader builds steadier teams. A centered individual inspires friends to breathe and trust again. And little by little, peace multiplies in a world that desperately needs it. Peace becomes real to us when we see it lived out in others. Principles are powerful, but stories make them unforgettable. And history is full of men and women who stood in storms that would have destroyed most people, yet carried peace like a torch through the darkness. Their examples remind us that chaos does not have the final word. Think of Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison. 27 years of walls, chains, isolation, and the constant temptation to let bitterness consume him. By every natural measure, his soul should have been broken. Yet when Mandela walked out of that prison, he did not come out raging, vengeful, or poisoned by hate. He came out with peace in his heart and forgiveness on his lips. He chose reconciliation over revenge. He anchored himself in a vision bigger than the storm of injustice around him. That inner calm made him more powerful than the regime that tried to silence him. His peace was not weakness. It was the very thing that allowed him to lead a nation out of chaos. That is what peace looks like in action. Or think of Mother Teresa walking the streets of Calcutta, surrounded by the chaos of poverty, sickness, and death. Every day she faced human suffering at its rawest. Children abandoned, the sick left to die, hopelessness thick in the air. And yet, those who met her said she carried a serenity that could not be explained. She was not blind to the suffering. She worked in the middle of it, but her peace was rooted in love and service. While chaos screamed all around her, she remained calm enough to offer compassion, dignity, and care to those who had nothing. Peace became her gift to the broken, and it multiplied in ways statistics could never measure. Let's bring it closer. Think of Viktor Frankl, a man thrown into the chaos of a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. Surrounded by cruelty, starvation, and death, many lost their sanity and humanity. But Frankl discovered something remarkable. Though he could not control the guards, the hunger, or the fate of his body, he realized he could control his attitude. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That choice gave him peace in a place where peace should have been impossible. And from that inner freedom, he later built a philosophy that has inspired millions. But peace is not only found in famous figures. It is found in ordinary people like you and me who choose calm in the middle of personal storms. I once heard of a single mother who lost her job without warning. Bills piled up, the landlord knocked on the door, and chaos pressed in from every side. Yet every morning, she would sit with her children, smile, and say, "We are going to be okay. We have each other. We are alive. We will find a way." That peace gave her children courage instead of fear. And true enough, doors opened, friends helped, opportunities appeared, and eventually, stability returned. But it was her inner peace that carried her family through the darkest days. Without it, panic would have crushed them. With it, they made it through. Think also of medical professionals in hospitals during the peak of a pandemic. The chaos was unthinkable. Wards overflowing, supplies running short, fear hanging heavy in the air. Yet many doctors and nurses walked those halls with a calm presence, holding hands of the dying, comforting families, steadying their teams. They did not deny the chaos, but they refused to let it break their spirit. Their peace, rooted in purpose, gave hope to those who were drowning in despair. Peace became not just their survival mechanism, but their greatest contribution. And what about the pilot Sully Sullenberger, who famously landed a plane on the Hudson River after both engines failed? Imagine the chaos, hundreds of lives at stake, seconds to decide, panic pressing in. Yet Captain Sully remained calm, focused, and steady. His peace under pressure saved lives. Passengers later said that his calm voice over the intercom gave them the courage to stay still, to trust, to breathe. That moment showed the world that peace under pressure can make the difference between tragedy and triumph. The stories go on. A farmer who loses his harvest to a flood but still sings with gratitude. A soldier who comforts others in the trenches. A teacher who stays patient with students when the system is failing. A young person who chooses forgiveness instead of revenge after betrayal. These are not small things. They are proof that peace is stronger than chaos. And here is the lesson. Peace is never found in perfect conditions. Every story of peace shines brightest in the darkest storm. Mandela found it in a prison cell. Mother Teresa found it in the slums. Frankl found it in a camp of death. Parents find it in unpaid bills. Workers find it in toxic environments. Leaders find it in national crises. And if they could, you can too. Peace is not about what surrounds you. It is about what lives in you. It is about the anchor you hold, the lens you choose, the roots you grow. And when you embrace it, your story too becomes an inspiration for someone else. One day, someone will look at your life and say, "I don't know how they made it through that storm, but they did, and they did it with peace." My friend, let me remind you once more. Peace is not a luxury for the lucky few. Peace is not a prize for those who escape hardship. Peace is not a dream that lives only in books and speeches. Peace is your birthright. It is within you, waiting to be awakened. The world may shake, but you can stand firm. The storm may rage, but you can remain calm. The voices of fear, anxiety, and doubt may scream, but you can choose silence inside your soul that no noise can touch. The truth is this: chaos will always be part of life. The world will never be perfectly calm. There will always be wars somewhere, storms brewing, bills waiting, deadlines pressing, relationships breaking, sickness striking, and uncertainties unfolding. If you wait for life to become calm before you allow yourself peace, you will wait forever. The secret is not to wait for the storm to pass, but to learn how to dance in the rain. It is not to escape the fire, but to carry calmness into the flames. It is not to run from chaos, but to rise above it with an inner stillness that makes the storm powerless. Imagine what would happen if you lived like this. Imagine walking into stressful situations without being shaken. Imagine facing betrayals without bitterness, disappointments without despair, setbacks without losing your identity. Imagine being the calm one in your family when everyone else is falling apart. Imagine being the steady hand in your workplace when panic breaks out. Imagine being the light in your community when darkness spreads. That is what peace makes possible. That is what peace does. It transforms you into an unshakable pillar. Do you see now? Peace is not weakness. Peace is power. It is the power to think clearly when others are blinded by fear. It is the power to love when others hate. It is the power to stand tall when others collapse. It is the power to endure when others give up. Real strength is not the ability to shout the loudest or strike the hardest. Real strength is the ability to remain calm, focused, and grounded when everything around you says you should break. But here's the part that will change your life forever. Peace is contagious. When you carry peace, it spreads. Just like panic can infect a room, peace can transform it. One calm person can calm a family. One grounded leader can steady a whole team. One peaceful friend can bring comfort to many. And one peaceful soul can inspire countless others to believe that peace is possible. When you carry peace, you don't just survive chaos, you become a refuge for others in it. So today, I challenge you. Don't just hear these words and nod. Don't just admire the stories and walk away unchanged. Decide, yes, decide, that you will live as a person of peace. Decide that you will not let chaos master you. Decide that you will not let fear dictate your future. Decide that you will be an anchor in your generation. Decide that when storms rise, you will not panic, you will not surrender, you will not crumble. You will breathe, you will stand, you will rise, and you will walk through fire with calm steps, knowing that peace is stronger than chaos. And let me tell you this. When you choose peace, you are not choosing to be blind to problems. You are choosing to see them with clarity. You are not choosing to avoid responsibility. You are choosing to face it with strength. You are not choosing passivity. You are choosing power. Because peace is not the absence of battle. It is the mastery of your spirit in the middle of it. So wherever you are right now, whether you are in a season of storm or a season of calm, decide that peace will be your way of life. Make it your practice every day. Guard it, feed it, protect it. And when the storms come, and they will, you will not be swept away. You will stand, you will shine, you will be unshakable. And someday when people look back at your story, they will not just say you survived the storm. They will say you carried peace through it. They will say you became stronger, wiser, and more radiant because of it. They will say you gave hope when hope was gone. That will be your legacy. That will be your power. That will be your peace. So walk boldly, my friend. Walk into the storms of life with calmness in your spirit. Walk into chaos with peace in your heart. Walk into uncertainty with courage on your face. And let your life declare to the world, the storm is loud, but I am louder within. The world shakes, but I stand unshaken. Chaos surrounds me, but peace lives in me. Because peace is not found in the absence of storms. Peace is found in the presence of strength within. And that strength, it already lives in you.